in our office. And we're going to have a few folks coming a little bit later. We have a few folks that need to leave early, so that's why we're going to go ahead and get started. So if you need to leave, it's okay just to exit as you need. Feel free to get food and go to the restroom as you need. We are going to have a big break. The break will be for that as well, and then also to mingle and ask questions, you know, to the presenters that have already presented, and you know, talk more in depth on the subjects. So use that opportunity to make your connections and get your business cards if you folks brought them. And is everybody okay with, we'll show of hands, everyone okay with sending out everyone's email for to be able to contact each other? Everybody okay? Yeah. Okay. What about, we're going to take a group photo. We had one of these in the fall and there were 13 of us and we had an amazing time and I wish we would have taken a photo. So we're gonna do that here in a few minutes. What's that?
Can I vote?
No, you may not. We're sorry, your hand, Ricky, it's too late.
So everybody have your best cheese on. First, we're going to start off with going around the room. We're going to introduce ourselves. We're going to say what organization we're from and what location that you're at or the counties you cover, or both. So I will start it off. So I am Heather Montgomery, and I am with the UCCE here, and I'm the Climate Smart Community Education Specialist, and I cover Sutter and Yuba counties. So we'll go ahead and start over here.
Okay. Hi everybody, I'm Sarah Light. I'm an economy farm advisor here at UC Cooperative Extension. I know many of you, I've worked with a lot of you too, but I look forward to meeting those who I haven't. I serve Sutter-Yuba and counties, and I work on all field crops except rice, but a big part of my program is soil health, so I'm pumped to be here. Thanks.
I'm Wendy Crable. I'm the district conservationist for the NRCS office in the Yuba Sutter counties, and we work on writing conservation plans for landowners on pretty much all land uses: forestry, range, cropland, pasture, you name it, we do it.
I'm Whitney Grimba-Forrest. I'm a rice and wildlife advisor based out of the Sutter-Yuba office, and I cover Sutter-Yuba, Placer, and Southfield counties. And yeah, I'm excited to be here as well.
I'm Betsy Harley, and I'm a cooperative extension dairy advisor. I cover these counties, but I'm based in Orland, in Glenn County. This afternoon, the hat I'm wearing is as the cooperative extension UC Agriculture Natural Resources representative for the California Conservation Planning Partnership that I'll chat about a little bit later.
Hi all, I'm Sarah Garcia. I'm from the CDFA Office of, and we just changed our name, Office of Agricultural Resiliency and Sustainability. I'm the Technical Assistance Coordinator. So I coordinate the Technical Assistance Program for the Climate Smart Agriculture Incentive Grant Programs, also the Conservation Agriculture Grant Planning Program, and then I'm the lead point of contact for CDFA for the California Conservation Planning Partnership.
Hi everyone, my name is Lizette Mendoza, and I'm with Cooperative Extension as well. Climate Smart Ag Program based in Glenn County and Orland, and serve Butte and Tehama counties as well.
I'm John Essick, Yuba County Board of Supervisors and Yuba Water Agency, and I farm a little bit on the side as well.
I'm Connor Higgins, with Yolo County Resource Conservation District. We have some programs that come up this way and mostly through Yolo County.
I'm Andrea. I am the Livestock and Natural Resources Advisor with UCCE, and I cover Placer, Nevada, Yuba, and Sutter counties.
I'm Rick. I'm the Forestry Advisor for UCCE on the Western Sierras, so I deal with all the trees that can't eat.
I'm Sean Nelson. I'm a Center Ag biologist with pesticides enforcement, and office is right here.
I am Matt Bozo with Yuba County Ag Commissioner's Office over at the Yuba County Government Center.
I'm Courtney Kraus, and I'm with Sutter County Ag Department and for Sutter County.
Brandon Johnson, soil conservationist with the NRCS here in the Yuba City office, covers Sutter and Yuba County.
I'm Renee McCrory. I'm the Foreign Secretary here in this office, and I'm here to help with the meeting.
She's our timekeeper.
That's right.
Kelly Wilson, and I am Glenn County Resource Conservation District. I work mostly in Glenn County, but there are programs that I work out of my county.
Okay, well, thank you. And, what we're doing here today is, I think, going to bridge some gaps in helping our local farmers and ranchers in making some great referrals, because we will be more educated with, who our partners are in the community. And if we have some events coming up that we want to partner with, we know who to call, and who to reach out to if we need help. So thank you for being here, and let's go ahead and take our photo. We'll meet should we meet in the back, or should we meet like with the,
Yeah, we can just move the.
yeah, okay. We'll come up here to the front so you can be in front of the, welcome sign. Renee, Renee's taking a photo.
Okay, guys, gonna have to.
I know.
Get together a little bit.
There we go. Okay. Do we fit? No?
Yeah, I feel
Scrunch.
like Lizette, you need to come on this side.
Get to know
Yeah, some of the,
everybody should.
Okay. Okay, perfect. That looks good.
Okay. Say
Smile,
cheese.
everybody. I'm doing a few.
Say agriculture.
Okay, good.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. We went a little heavy. When you guys come up to present, be very careful that you don't trip, okay?
Just put it there, take ours out.
Do you guys, are you doing a
We don't
presentation?
have
Okay.
Just close it. There.
Do you guys need, the speaker or anything?
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay.
Well, we drew the lucky straw to go first. So we're with the Yuba and Sutter Ag departments. So I'm just we have a variety of different programs that we do. We are a regulatory agency, so that's kind of our foremost objective when we're out there doing our jobs. But I'm going to start, and then we'll kind of pass it along and go over some of the other stuff we do for the growers in our area. So I primarily pretty much only work in pesticide use enforcement. And what we do there is we help the farmers meet the CEQA equivalent, which is by offering them their restricted material permits or operator identification permits. Those permits are what allows them to buy chemicals, herbicides, insecticides, whatever they may need to spray onto their property. And then along with that is following pesticide use reporting, notice of intent if required. So that's one of the facets that we help the farmers with, is acquiring those permits. And the way they have to get those permits, depending on what their gonna be using, they have to be licensed. So there's a variety of different licenses that they can get. If they're just typical grower, typically gets a private applicator card certificate, which they actually go into either our office or the Yuba County office or any ag commissioner's office to get that certificate. It's just a test. They go and take it, we fill out the card. If they want to start a business, a spray business, or if they're a different non-ag agency, like a water district, then they have to get a state license. And that they have to apply through the Department of Pesticide Regulation and take a test. Either, there's a couple testing sites that they can go to, one in Sacramento, one in Roseville. There's one all the way up in Reading too, I think. So if they want to go down that avenue as far as being able to apply pesticides, they have to get those state licenses. So other stuff we do for the growers, we do a variety of inspections from just typical pesticide use inspections. We do worker safety inspections, which is basically we're going out in the field, checking the farmers, making sure they have all those safety equipment, all the proper protective equipment, making sure the employees are properly trained, they have sufficient cleaning or soap, water, towels, that sort of stuff. That's part of our inspection stuff that we do with them. We also offer trainings. We do so in order to renew your licenses, you have to do continuing education. And we offer classes here that, we do about 4 a year, and then we work with other groups and industry that also do those classes. So we help them get that continuing education. We also run a recycle program, so whenever, basically, the growers will typically just accumulate a bunch of empty pesticide containers and they don't know what to do with them. So we've developed a recycle program here. I should have brought flyers for that. We have about, 9-10 events a year where the growers just come and bring all their empty pesticide containers, drop it off, and we work with Sequoia Environmental and they help recycle all that material for us. It's been a pretty good program for us. And then another thing we kind of do too is we deal with complaints. So if one grower accidentally drifts pesticides onto another grower, we'll go out there, we'll do an investigation, we'll talk to both parties involved. We can pull purchase records to see what was sprayed or what was paid for. We'll figure that out, and we basically do a whole investigation that we end up sending to the state. And it's kind of what we cover from the pesticide use enforcement side of it all. These guys are going to cover some of the other stuff we do.
So my main program that is more direct contact with growers is fruit and vegetable standardization. It's divided into a few different categories. I have melons where I do sugar testing for melons out in the field that are going to be sent for direct market, making sure that they meet sugar tolerances and any defects. And then my main area is certified producer certificates and certified farmers markets. We have one here off of Lewis Street. So I help the manager with that market get their license in each year, filled out, and sent off to California Department of Food and Agriculture. And I also help at the farmers market, there are certified producers who have a certificate done through us or even other counties like Yuba. I go out to their site with the grower and go through all of their commodities being grown, ask information like variety, harvest season. It all goes onto a sheet that they have at the market. I help them meet a lot of different California code regulations and food and ag code that they're required to follow at the farmers market. We also do organic, which is helping growers with transitioning to organic, getting their licensing done. I can help them with questions on certification. And we also do some with honey. My primary area is with labeling. And then we have weed-free certification for weed-free forage. So I go out to any fields that are gonna be baled for rice straw or even like wheat straw, checking to make sure the fields are free from any noxious weeds. And then getting their certificate process that they issue to those that are wanting to buy bales from them. And my other area, not as much with growers, but we do weights and measures at our department. with growers, it'd probably be for checking prune scales for prune growers, as well as rice, for, like locations like High and Dry out in Sutter where they're shipping rice seeds. We're checking to make sure the scales are accurate, for them and for those that they're selling to.
You just picked Class A, didn't you?
Yes.
Oh.
And we're also licensed to drive a weight track for it too. So, other than that,
Alright, I'll be wrapping up the ag side. So in addition to pesticide use enforcement, commodity regulation, weights and measures, Yuba County, there's only 5 of us in our office, so we tend to do all of this together. But in addition, we also do plant quarantine, so we go to UPS, the distribution hub in Olivehurst. We check for any commodities there, any flowers, plants, fruits and vegetables that might be introducing pests that could attack our agriculture here. If we locate it, find it, we send it down to the state, identify it. If it's a A-rated or a Q-rated pest, we destroy it. And then we trace back to where it came from. Another thing is pest eradication. Last 2 days I've been up at Camptonville, New Lord's Bar, working with the Tahoe National Forest Group, and we've been eradicating a A-rated weed called Russian skeleton weed. So we've been out there spraying at a number of their locations. We also spray on the Yuba Water Agency's property, Yuba County's property, and then also private property that we've worked with landowners in the area. This morning I was at Camp Far West on some locations there, talking to ranchers there that have small populations, getting permission, and then eradicating those locations. Biggest issue, for example, this weed is, it wipes out all your feed. It takes over the rangeland, and it's also hard on your groundwater recharge. It takes all your water out. It dries out the place from the tap room. So eradication, quarantine, you got PUE, commodity regulation, weights and measures. That's what we do, that same thing over in Yuba County. We also, Sean was talking about if a grower needs help on safety trainings, we do lots of classes. There's 4 classes here in the fall. There's 3 employee classes in the spring here. We do the Spray Safe event, which is regional. We team up on that, usually about 450 attendees as well. But if a grower is just throwing their hands up and say, I need help on a safety training, we have that paperwork to help them through that, navigate through that. So it's a nice local asset. That's it.
Yeah.
You guys have any questions?
Any questions?
Yeah,
Do you help growers that don't wanna have to take that test?
We can guide them. Yeah. We can guide them.
Yeah, we'll help you take it.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. Yeah.
We'll help encourage you to take it.
Yeah.
What's the sugar tolerance on melons?
we test them using a refractometer. It's usually about 10%. And we do honeydew and cantaloupe.
Is it like we want to keep it below or above a certain threshold?
Above,
Above.
yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want,
Because you don't want very not sweet melons to go to market.
it's about quality.
So,
Yeah, quality control.
I didn't know if it was so wouldn't go too high and then have a rot issue when you're transplanting.
I think like the highest we get is about like 15%, which is a really sweet melon,
Yeah.
and they're very good. You get to taste out in the field every once in a while, which is a nice perk.
We do a lot of also phyto work, phytosanitary work for export. So a lot of seed production is done in Sutter County. We have a little bit in Yuba County. Example would be sunflower seed production. Over in Sutter County, you get watermelon seed, cantaloupe seed. Yolo County is huge seed production area. It's isolation, it's dry climate, it's less disease issues. They'll produce seed here, you can send it to the Midwest or export overseas. And then also, if you have your Sunsweet, your Marianne's here, Showy Foods, they're exporting, and we can go out, look at those commodities, and do federal phytosanitary certificates for export to move product out. So we're also helping farmers that direction as well.
mic, right? You guys can hear me all right? Okay, perfect. So, thanks Heather for inviting me to share some research updates. I'm going to be showcasing 3 projects I'm working on in my extension program to give some ideas about what we do as farm advisors and opportunities for you and maybe growers you work with to plug in. I would say some of the first cover crop project I did was started because a grower called me with the RCD Executive Director in Calusa. We looped in Wendy from the NRCS, and we got funding from the CDFA Healthy Soils Program. So it was a great example of like federal, state, local working together. And that's kind of, I think, the best model is if you're getting the idea first from the grower because you know it's really of interest. So I'll say that if in your work in healthy soils you hear of stuff that might work in field crops, I'd be glad to talk about ways to try it in the field. For example, we did an evaluation recently of applying almond shells to established alfalfa fields with the SB 1383, which is the Organic Matter Recycling Bill. There's more encouragement and motivation to move organic matter and recycle it onto ag lands. But we do need to know what the potential impact is to those crops before we are able to recommend it. And so this is a picture of what we did. We applied almond shells. For those of you who don't know much about almond byproducts as I didn't before starting, the hulls have a feed value and are often sold for feed, but the shells are sort of just a high carbon, tough material. So what do you do with it? Do you take it to a compost facility and compost it, or can you apply it right to the field? It is quite dry and it blows around, so the first lessons learned was in the application process. This is a quick background of the project. We were interested in alfalfa being a sink for this material. The reason we thought of alfalfa was because it is deep-rooted, it is a legume that fixes its own nitrogen. The shells are a really high carbon to nitrogen ratio, and so we were worried if we put that in like an annual crop rotation, you'd have to like fertilize more or have this nitrogen tie-up that would lead to reduction in yield. And similarly, we picked established stands because younger alfalfa has more shallow fetal roots where they take from the top of the profile, and that nitrogen would again be tied up. So we had a grower in Yolo County. I collaborated with a retired colleague, Rachel Long, on this, and we got the funding from our commodity board. And a very gracious grower who allowed us to try this. The grower was interested in gypsum, so we included that in a treatment as well as a side-by-side comparison. We applied the treatments to the same plots for 2 years. The stand was 3 years old. We applied them in the fall, and we had some variability in our rates the first year, 4 to 8 tons per acre. It's really hard to get a precise rate when it's blowing off the truck. So it's kind of good from a perspective of extension for the researcher to try and have the challenges you overcome first before you recommend it, because then you can answer questions about it like, well, it takes longer to calibrate it, or you can't, we tried on a windy day, we had to come back, etc. So that was cool. This is what it looked like after application. Thick shells. And then this is 5 months later after application in year 2, still pretty thick shells, but I would say we were impressed by how quickly they sort of did melt away as well. There were still shells there, but it was definitely decomposing and did not affect the ability of the stand to grow. We always collect yield data and usually some quality metric or whatever the grower can take to market if we're doing an evaluation, because we don't want someone to take a financial hit from doing these practices. So this is just 1 year of data. The yield trends were the same for both years. So this is the first cutting of the year. We had a slight reduction in the almond shells, and then by our spring cutting it had evened out. In fact, the almond shells yielded a little bit higher. So that was exciting. I'll say all of these graphs are organized the same: control, almond shell, and gypsum, with the almond shell in the middle in green. So if you, in the back, struggle to read this, and I'm sorry the font's small, the order is the same for all of them. We also had no differences in stand vigor, so no loss of alfalfa plants. However, we were hoping to suppress some weeds, and we didn't accomplish that, so there was also no difference in weed pressure. From a soil health perspective, though, very exciting. We saw results almost immediately. We looked at soil cracking. This is a picture of those cracks. Soil cracking can be a soil health indicator because it's related to soil structure and the way that kind of aggregates are formed. But also for a perennial crop like alfalfa, it can tear the crown and the roots and be kind of detrimental. increase the risk of diseases, etc. So we saw a significant reduction in soil cracking after just 2 years of application. The gypsum and control were very high in their cracking as compared to the almond shells. We took these measurements on 4 dates, and all 4 dates looked similar to this. We also saw almost an immediate reduction in soil compaction where the almond shells were in those top 3 inches of the profile. I have a penetrometer that is pretty cool, and I'm always glad to come out and do sampling for you if you have a need for this. But it samples to depth down to 18 inches and collects the PSI for that. We saw the reduction in the top 3 inches in soil after 2 years, which, having done multiple years of cover crop tile, I've never seen that quick of a result. So that was pretty exciting. Lower down, we didn't see that. But some other soil health metrics like bulk density and aggregate stability, which usually take about 5 years to be affected, were not affected by treatment after 2 years of trial. We looked at some chemical factors as well. I really shortened this talk down so I can talk about several things. This is the only soil chemical factor that was affected, which is electrical conductivity. Gypsum is a soluble salt and had significantly more salinity than the almond shells in control. So I think that's always an important thing for us to remember when we're working with growers, especially in the drought years. Right now we've been getting a really good rain in the winter, we're flushing salts out. But when we were at the tail end of that last drought, we were having pretty bad salt issues, even in this area where it's not usually as bad. Because we didn't have anything flushing out. And gypsum is a soil conditioner, but it is also a highly soluble salt, so we always want to be careful when we put salt in the field. Other things like potassium, almond shells are really high in potassium. We didn't see statistical differences with that, not with organic matter, not with carbon. However, what I will say is we did do our final sampling in the top foot, and I think that might have diluted the effect because we saw increases in the values. I think if we would have sampled like in the top 4 to 6 inches, we might have seen a statistically significant increase, but it was a little diluted. So we're gonna resample this spring. Water infiltration, this is another exciting soil health metric. We followed the NRCS protocols on this, so kind of working in collaboration. This is the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th inch of water. The almond shell had the fastest movement. This is time in seconds, so a lower number means faster. So the almond shells had the fastest infiltration for all 4 inches, and that was statistically significant at the 4th inch. We also looked at saturated hydraulic conductivity, which is how fast water moves in saturated soil. That was faster with the almond shells as well, though not statistically significant. And then we also looked at water volume, and what we found was that in the winter months, the almond shell plots had a higher volume of water, which makes sense. More water's infiltrating in and moving into the profile. And then in the summer, there was slightly less water, like about a half a centimeter, so not really enough to affect an irrigation decision, but slightly less water in the almond shell plots, and I attribute that to the slight increase in yield. Alfalfa is a crop that yields proportionate to water applied, and so there's a little more water there. If you get a little more yield off, it's using a little bit more water. So I don't think that that was actually a treatment effect of drying out. So some quick summaries and conclusions. The shells don't appear to affect alfalfa stands or productivity. We did see improvement in soil health even after just 2 years. Because the shells are not incorporated, we think that nitrogen tie-up would be slow, and so we don't recommend, like before you plant alfalfa, putting shells on as a treatment and like disking them in, because you tie up that nitrogen. We don't recommend it for establishing stands. This is really a way to move materials around. They are bulky and lightweight, which is in some ways great because compost you can lose like 20% of your weight to water, so you're not paying to move water. However, the spreading costs are high. The freight costs were $10 a ton within 50 miles, and spreading was $15 a ton. So always try to include some economic analysis for new practices. We were able to get that donated by an industry partner, but those costs might be challenging for growers depending on their opportunity. So it's really for alfalfa near an almond orchard. Okay, moving on to cover crops. These are some short slides I've pulled together from different projects. I've collected weed suppression data with cover crop projects for like 5 years in this area and drawn conclusions that I can then share with clientele. I'll share pictures from some of our projects. These are from one year where we were able to get side-by-side pictures. This was in 2021 when we got that really heavy rain in October and the fields were all really wet for a month. So we thought, oh, we're gonna get back to plant next week, but we were like a month delayed. Provided a great opportunity to share that impact of soil coverage and weed suppression with planting date. Similarly, this is looking at different rate data, so the effect of weed suppression of different seeding rates so that we can share with growers whether or not it's worth it to really increase your seeding rate and pay more money for seed to get weed control or not. I've done many years of variety trials, which the reports are on my website. So this picture is showing the purple top turnip here compared to yellow mustard. I'll say this is like my hands down favorite cover crop, and one reason I really like it is it goes to flower later than the other brassicas. So if you're worried about getting in and not getting more mustard or brassica seeds in your field, I would opt for this one because it's consistently in a side-by-side, not going to flower, and the other brassicas are. And then we'll continue to learn lessons. This is from last year, a really wet, saturated year, and the brassicas and the grasses really did not perform as well as the legumes. I'll say every other year I have this data, it's the opposite. And so that's why it's important to kind of keep it going and just report the results that you have. I always put these project summaries on our website. I've done a little bit of work with summer cover crops. Those I wanted to start working on because of the Plant Materials Center, the USDA. They have done summer cover crop trials, and in our annual rotations we have a window after harvest but before the first rain where our fields are just fallow. And so if we can get a summer cover crop established, keep that living root going in good soil coverage, maybe there's a benefit there. We applied pretty low water and then took height and percent cover data. From a weed suppression perspective, the Sudan grass and sorghum Sudan grass were super effective at suppressing weeds, but they also were so much biomass. So part of the reason I include height is if you're trying to decide what type of cover crop to plant on your field or working with a grower, it's really important for them to be able to terminate it with the equipment that they have, and that, like 84 inches, is a lot of material to incorporate. And so you want someone to be able to kind of know in advance. So that's why I always do height and percent cover, just because it's kind of an easy way when you're not in the field yourself to get a sense of how stuff looked. But the cool thing about these is they suppress the weeds literally through the whole winter. So this is the next spring, complete suppression of overwintering weeds. So definitely want to do more work on summer cover crops. Would love to collaborate with you guys if you're also interested, or if you know a grower who's like eager to work on this, please let me know. This is the cost study for cover crops that I put together with a colleague, a small farms advisor for the Sacramento Valley. This enables growers to see step by step what field operations kind of are, but also to assess their own costs. So with any new soil health practice, that's a question that I get, what's it gonna cost? We do have great incentive programs now, but it's still helpful to kind of understand long term what the potential costs will be. We were able to quantify weed suppression benefits and then total cost per acre. These are 2022 prices. So these are some resources, examples online, Western Cover Crops Council. And then the last project I want to quickly share is livestock integration. This is another project that was grower led, I'll say. A grower and a rancher in Colusa were working together on some livestock stuff and were interested in doing kind of replicated research and approached me. I looped in one of our livestock advisors and we did 3 years of trials. Really cool work and really a learning lesson for me as a plant person about the needs that animals have for management on a daily basis and how that works with labor considerations on a farm. But we had a grazing treatment, a baling treatment, and a chop and disc. So chop and disc would be like a more traditional cover crop incorporation. And then the grower was also interested in kind of the economics of baling the forage off and selling it versus grazing in the field and what that looked like. We learned a lot. We're still processing these results because we just wrapped it up, but we learned quite a lot about variety selection. So in year 1, it went great. We picked sun hemp, black eyes, kale, Piper Sudan grass. It was a drought year, so forage was like really valuable, and we were like, wow, this is super like a great project. Year 2, we tried again. We changed a little bit of our mix, and we had an early frost. And so the Sudan grass, we tested it, and it was too high in prussic acid. We couldn't put the animals out, and so we weren't able to finish the project that year. So year 3, we tried a mix that would have no risk to the animals, a proso millet, buckwheat, and cowpea. But the weed competition was extremely high, and the cover crop was not able to thrive. There was a lot of velvet leaf. I think everyone on that project was like, "Wow, I've never seen that much velvet leaf." So this is the kind of cool stuff we can learn through research. We are able to this was really exciting because it was kind of to respond to a grower and rancher interest in me about a new practice. And so, again, always really glad to kind of learn what people are interested in and how we might bring that science and research perspective to the farm, and especially collaborate with our natural resource partners. So with that, I'll say thanks. And if there's time for questions, I can answer them if there are any. So, any questions? Okay, cool. And I'm sorry, guys, I have to leave in about 10 minutes, but I'll leave my card. And please be in touch if you don't know me already. Thanks.
Thank you.
I guess I'm up, huh? I'm John Messick, Yuba County Board of Supervisors and Yuba Water Agency. Thanks for having me. I'm gonna apologize in advance. I'm gonna leave right after I speak, so I'll take questions before I leave. Heather really didn't tell me, she just left it wide open. Talk about whatever you want. Those of you that know me know I don't talk very much, but when I do, I talk too much, so. I kind of took a few notes sitting here that maybe will pertain to this audience. The Board of Supervisors, we obviously work with the Ag Department and all the departments in Yuba County, so we support the Ag Department any way we can. Probably the biggest thing we do would be more on the Yuba Water Agency side, so I'll probably talk more on the Yuba Water Agency side. Yuba Water was voted on by Yuba County back in the 50s after the 55 flood. We own our own reservoir. We built Buller's Bar Reservoir, leased it out to PG&E for 50 years. Now we operate the powerhouse as well as the water, and we supply all the farm water, all the ag water for Yuba County. We have about 1 million acre feet of storage water rights. Even through the drought years, the farmers in Yuba County had water. So if you ever see aerial photos of the rice fields in the drought years, it was dismal in the other counties, but Yuba County was 100% flooded up. Just very important that we do that. And not only that, but now that we're selling electricity, we're very limited on what we can spend those funds on. It has to be water projects or flood reduction projects, and now we've expanded into habitat on the Yuba River. So putting in a lot of salmon habitat on the Yuba River. We're soon to be built nature-like fish passageway around Daguerre Dam. If any of you are familiar with Daguerre Dam, it was built as a flood or as a debris control dam from all the mining debris coming down the Yuba River. And it happens to be the point where we take out all of our irrigation water south and north county. So the Cordova Canal, Allwood irrigation, goes clear over to Ramirez irrigation. And then in the south, there's Brophy, Wheatland, there's a few other ones I can't remember. So the water goes out there, comes out of Bullards. We support any of the irrigation companies, anything water delivery to Yuba County, we financially support. And I'll give you some examples. Browns Valley Irrigation District, say they're doing a lot of piping right now. If they get some state and federal grant money to do piping, the Yuba Water Agency, we can match those funds or give them a percentage of those funds. So it makes the customers, the end user customers, it makes it cheaper for them. We just did some in Hallwood where I live. I'm a member of, or a customer, I guess, of Hallwood Irrigation or shareholder. We're doing some ditch lining on some, earthen ditches, and so we're gonna line them with concrete. They were able to get some grant funding, from the federal government, I believe, and we did a cost share match on that, or paid the local share, so in turn, we get the ditches lined, we're saving water, we're making it easier to deliver water, and it makes it cheaper on the end-use customers like myself and the farmers, so that's what you do with the water agency. In addition to the, fish habitat projects we have coming that we're doing and continue to do, we are doing a lot of forest resilience work. We've put up $10 million worth of money to go in with $110 million put in by CDF and the National Forest. So I don't know how many years that project's over. Some of you guys probably know. We're doing mastication for fire safety because we feel that if we had to have a big catastrophic fire around Bullardsbar Reservoir or our watershed, it's gonna cost us a lot more to clean up and keep our water safe. So we're trying to be proactive and prevent forest fires, especially in the Yuba watershed. We work with the RDC on those projects and many other projects. Let's see. So we do, Yuba Water does not sell water to end-use customers. So we do sell water to the irrigation districts at a very small rate, and then we also provide them money to do projects, but we don't sell to an individual person. So we also support a domestic water company in Brownsville, North Yuba Water District. Their water actually comes out of the Feather River watershed and then gets ditched over. We help them because it is water going into Yuba County residents. We help them, but there's been talk before, especially in the hills, of, oh, Yuba Water just wants to take over North Yuba. No, we don't. We cannot. By our charter, we can't do that, and we can't have individual customers, like, so to speak. I think that's about it. Is there any questions? Oh, somebody brought up about the farmers markets. Can't remember who it was. Yeah. So, switching back to my county hat, county supervisor, we have some certified farmers markets in Yuba County up in the hills. And I didn't realize this, you have to be a certified farmers market to take EBT. And the farmers markets in the hills are very small, they're nonprofit, they really don't do it to make money, they do it to serve the communities. So I was able to get the county to waive those fees because they're very hefty, $750 fee for the farmers markets, because now they can take EBT, so they're serving actually the poorest members of our community that need fresh fruits and vegetables. So it's worked out very good, and those are the kinds of things I enjoy about being on the board of supervisors, to help the communities like that. So if you ever get a chance, Brownsville Farmers Markets on Friday nights. Dobbins is Saturday during the day, in the morning. So in the summer months, of course. But anyway, thought of that when you were talking about the farmers markets. Anything else? You guys, I'll bring one up. You guys skip bees. Bees are a big thing. So ag department, what they have to go through with the bees. We had a lot of bee theft back a few years ago. I'm thinking we're kind of got that under control now, Matt.
Yeah, and also inspecting hives coming from out of state too for quarantine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been our biggest issue lately.
Yeah. So Yuba County is a primarily agricultural county. We support everything ag. My district of Yuba County is actually 82.5% of the surface area of Yuba County. So basically, I tell everybody, if it's not town, it's in my district. I'm your supervisor if you don't live in town. Marysville and Westland has one supervisor, and Olivehurst and Linda and Plumas Lake, Wheatland, they all have a little bit of farm ground, but the majority of the farming and ranching is in my district, so, I try to be out in the field as much as possible and helping things get done as much as I can, so. And the forestry, I have all the forest of Yuba County is in my district as well.
Yeah, there's some big lumber companies up there.
Yep,
Yeah.
Yep.
Actively managed locations.
yep. Any questions?
Thanks for that update. You mentioned the farmer's market and stuff. I know, occasionally I'll get calls about that sort of market stuff, and I don't exactly know to direct. So would you be a good person for people who either are looking for growers to supply a certain material or for a potential small market? Do you kind of do that connection in
You
your?
could definitely get a hold of me and I could put them in the right direction. I know the people that run both markets, in my district. I don't think there's another farmer's market in Yuba County. Do you know of any, Matt?
Just the Dobbins, Brownsville, and we've got a couple that are trying to start back up in Marysville, but it depends on the hospital right now. But the most active ones are the two, Dobbins and Brownsville.
I think this was like a more permanent, market that sold dried materials and stuff, but anyway, so good to
So
know.
I think there was they're starting up a Thursday night market in Marysville, in downtown Marysville.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's, they didn't really have a lot of people selling fruits and vegetables when I went to it. It was just
Yeah.
kind of music and jump house, and they were trying to get it going, and hopefully they'll get going, I don't know. I think they started the Saturday one as well, but really the two major ones, and they're definitely not major, but they're major in the communities they're in, is the Brownsville Farmers Market on Friday night and Dobbins Farmers Market on Saturday mornings.
Thank you.
And they're a lot of fun too. They have a lot of stuff going on up there. It's worth the drive.
So I kind of have, oh, sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I was just gonna quickly ask, so in the past, our organization, UCCE, hasn't really done a lot with the Yuba Water Agency. And I'm just kinda curious, like, what would be some priority areas that you guys might wanna see work done in or proposals in?
Well, you know, Heather's called me before last year about some different grants for irrigation and stuff yet. Unfortunately, most of Yuba County is flood, gravity flood. We don't pump. Like my orchards, you know, I have flood lines in, and the water comes out of the river at DeGear and runs down the ditches, so I have no pumping. I have no costs for pumping or anything else. So going to a micro drip type system doesn't work for me, right? I would rather have money for flood lines, so I can put more flood lines in my orchards. So those type of things probably, there's growers in Yuba County that do have to pump and irrigate like that, but it's fewer and or far between. But you know, we're always willing to help all our growers or all the constituents in Yuba County. So any information we can get out there would be great.
Okay.
And I don't know, you can get a hold of me and I can put you in touch with Yuba Water Agency, but we don't deal with, like I said, we don't deal with growers individually.
Sure.
We deal with Cordo Irrigation Company, or Barris Irrigation Company. And they really don't, they're just to deliver water, they don't really wanna, or I guess they don't put information out there. Probably the ag department, I would say, would be best, because we all have to go in there and unfortunately take that test. I'm singling myself out because I made an appointment with Matt and everything, and I got busy and didn't show up. I still have to go and renew my permit. And I think the last time I took the test, I was in my teens, so it's gonna be tough for me. Because I always did the continuing ed, now they said, you have to take the test no matter what. So
I've got a good guide for you.
I'm dreading it. I also owned a crop dusting company for about 7 years, so you'd think I would be more familiar with that, but it's just, I hate testing.
I have a flyer in Yuba County and Sutter County on their desk for when you show up. So everybody knows about the grant help that I'm providing them.
Okay.
So
We do have a public information officer.
Okay.
So if you could get a hold of Yuba County and ask for our public information officer, and we do a lot of social media networking and advertising and things like that. So we try to keep everybody informed, and it's getting more popular. But you will still get, no matter what we put out there, we'll still have people come up to a meeting and go, "Why are you doing this in secret?" we never heard anything about it, so. Can't get to everybody.
I'd say that fuel reduction work you guys are doing the last 3-4 years, it's huge up there. It's record setting.
Yeah.
Work that's being done up there, all the way up to Little Grass.
Yeah.
It's big.
Yeah, we're doing huge fuel reduction projects.
So I have a question before you go. I know in years past, somebody put it together and it basically was mostly Yuba County. I don't know if it included very many stops in Sutter County, but it was like a tourist map. I forget what they called it.
Oh, yeah.
The
With
Yuba
the
Sutter
pumpkin farms and
Chamber
stuff.
put it
Yeah.
together. And they're no longer doing that because I reached out to them. But I think that would be great for in this community, especially with like the farmers markets that they have up there.
Yeah,
For like the folks from Sutter County to even be able to know about that would be cool.
yeah.
Exactly.
Maybe we could
I know-
put a
I
meeting
know,
together or.
I know I've only been on the board for 2 years. But I know right when I started, they put out a wine tour, Yuba Foothills wine tour,
Mhm.
and pamphlets, and it had all the stops.
Yeah, I
that
think
wine
that was
tasting.
included with that, yes.
Okay, yeah, that'd be a good one to do, cause I've helped out with some tours. I don't know who put it together, but we went and toured some harvesting in Sutter County, and then, we were going to Shoei, and they had, their power went out or something, and they're like, hey, John, and we had people from Japan here, I think it was, and, so I called Mariani. It's great having the ag contacts. I called Mark Krause at Mariani, come on up, and turned the bus and went up there and had a full tour of Mariani's prune drying facility, and they were really impressed that we could pull that off in minutes rather than, after they had spent months preparing this tour for these people out of area. So we do have just a great ag community in both Yuba and Sutter County. Everybody's always willing to lend a hand and help out. In fact, I'll give you a fun fact. That's how I met my wife. She's a school teacher. They came on a field trip to Walnut Harvest when I was harvesting 26 years ago. So how else you gonna meet chicks during harvest, right? Host a field trip from the school. So yeah, this will be 25 years of marriage if we make it to November. Make it to this next harvest. So, any other questions? Okay. Sorry again that I have to run, but I have one thing after another.
We are glad we were able to have you. Thank you, John.
Okay, so before I start, is there anyone here that is not familiar with the SWEET program or the Healthy Soils program? So I know how to touch on that. Is everybody versed on that? Okay. I thought so, but I didn't want to leave anyone out. Okay, so my name is Kelly Wilson-Burt, and I am from the Glenn County Resource Conservation District. I'm the person that you ask to present when you want to make time up. So mine will be very brief. The first program that I work on is the SWEEP program. For us, we did receive a block grant in our county. We worked closely with the Cooperative Extension in Glenn County on this. We did a competitive grant on this. A lot of times people will come in and it's very heavy on the solar and light on water savings. So we tried to balance that out a little bit to get a little stronger on the water. I also work on the Healthy Soils program, and we did receive the block grant for that also, and we did that competitively. I'm very proud of this one, I guess, for doing the block grant. We spent a lot of time with the Cooperative Extension, and we have a soil health board. And we thought, how can we get people to not just come up and say, we want compost? So part of our competitive process was they got extra points for stacking practices. And I would say 90 or more percent, I don't know, was that majority, they said, well, all we want is compost. And so we had the conversation, well, try cover crop. And we got a lot of hesitation, and we've got a lot of people who said, well, I can't because of frost, and I can't because I spray a sterilant. So we are now seeing these projects in their first year, and we have received a lot of great feedback on the cover crops. So The first one was, it was actually my husband's, one of his best friend's brothers. And so he works in the fertilizer research area. And he was like, I'm not gonna plant a cover crop. It's not gonna grow, and I've sprayed Sterilite for several years, but I really want compost, so I will apply. So he did. Almost every week, if not every week, I get a text message from him. He's very proud of his cover crop. It's now about this tall. His family is so happy with the cover crop that his brother is in the process of redoing his backyard, so he has all the grass out. And so the brother has seen the benefit of the cover crop, so he's actually going to plant a cover crop in his backyard before he gets his grass planted, because he knows it's going to be a huge boost to the soil health before he gets the grass, and he's sick of his dog tracking in mud. So anyway, that was a success. I also had another one just today. A guy I've probably known for a long time in my life. He actually leased a ranch from my in-laws, and he sent me a message today because him and I for the last 3 years have gone back and forth about the benefits of compost. And so before he was like, I don't really know, because he would take his data from his soil testing, and that's what he was gauging it on. So, and he wouldn't always take his soil sample in the right place and whatever. So this morning he sends me a message, and he sends me the picture, and he's got a nice clod of dirt in his hands, and he says, for the first time in my life ever, we have worms on this ranch. So it was full, the whole clod was just full of worms. So just a few success stories. Sometimes the growers are hard to get to start thinking sustainably or regenerative or climate smart, whatever verbiage you want to use. But I don't know if I've ever had anyone that's not happy with the project once they do it. So just cracking the case of soil health is beneficial, it's just hard. So I also do, I am not a conservation planner, but I help the growers to entertain the idea of a conservation plan, and then we direct them to a conservation planner who does do them. This is another one. At first people were like, well, why do I want a conservation plan? We've only received 2 back. Of both of those, we've gotten a lot of great suggestions, and people are reading them thoroughly, and so it's been a success. This last one was kind of a last minute thing we did. We partnered with CAF, and really my job on this is just to do education and outreach on Sigma. Is everyone familiar with Sigma here? Okay. So it was literally just education and outreach. There is some services that can be attached, but we thought, oh, this is a slam dunk. We're gonna go in and our growers know what Sigma is, and we're just gonna be able to go to the GGA meetings. And so as we got into it, we realized that most of our growers don't know what Sigma is. So where we thought it was gonna be a more advanced conversation, it's really been a very entry-level conversation about Sigma. Just the other night at a Farm Bureau meeting, we had a grower who told us his best friend who farms 4,000 acres did not know what Sigma was. So that we definitely need to work on the outreach. And I posted the picture of my whole group. I'm sure each of you in this county have a CAF contractor who's doing the same thing. So, we can do speaking engagements, we can put on workshops, we can do whatever you need. So if you need any information on how to get in touch with any of these, please let me know. We have a good amount of funding, and we really want to get the information out there, especially now that we realize there's not much of a baseline. And there is just my contact information. If I talk about anything that's interesting to you, reach out to me. Also, Lizette works on the Healthy Soils and Sweep side by side with me, so if you have any questions on those programs, you can reach out to her also. Thank you.
Sarah's coming with me. All right. So I'm gonna use slides, so I'll just chat. So I'm Betsy Carley, and I asked Sarah Garcia to join me because we're gonna talk about the C2P2, or California Conservation Planning Partnership Program. But before we dive into that, I just kind of want to talk about this puzzle of all of these organizations and partnerships and this and that and the other thing, which obviously with all of you in this room, you're very well aware of the benefits of partnerships coming together, which we really appreciate. But from Cooperative Extension, we are part of the University of California Agriculture and Natural Resources. So that means we're your county-based university partners. As you heard from Sarah's presentation and you'll hear in upcoming presentations, one of our main charges is research. On-farm, on-site, in the forest, on-the-ground research. I was just actually on a dairy this morning and we were talking about, well, maybe we should change things up with this research project and talking about how it needed to be applicable, and we can't do things like an ivory tower might do them. We're really on the ground trying to find research solutions that are really applicable to farmers and ranchers. But I'm not going to give you a research update. As much as I'd like to talk about cows, I feel like that's not exactly why we're here today. But we do also do other activities. Extension, education, outreach are all pillars or charges that we in Cooperative Extension have as well. And so the California Conservation Planning Partnership is an example of those. The reason we're called Cooperative Extension is because the funding mechanism is a cooperative type of arrangement. So somebody else would have to say how it works exactly here in Sutter and Yuba counties, but the county funds a good portion of our program, building, vehicles, office staff, and then the university funds the academic staff, the programmatic staff, research programs, and so that's kind of where the cooperative piece comes in. Fortunately, I guess right now we don't have very much federal funding, but there is a little bit of federal funding too, so that's the secret behind the name. But to talk about C2P2, should I just give an overview and then you can fill in all the holes that I leave? Okay, perfect. So the C2P2, which is a little easier to say than the whole acronym, is a memorandum of agreement between University of California Agriculture and Natural Resources, California Department of Food and Agriculture, California Association of Resource Conservation Districts, and the Natural Resource Conservation Service. Those are acronyms. Probably everybody, I could have just used the acronyms, but probably everybody knows those, but CDFA, NRCS, RCD, and UCANR. So ultimately the goal of this partnership is just to streamline technical assistance. You've heard about some programs that are available to farmers and ranchers. You've heard about, needing help, and so that's really what the goal of this agreement is to really streamline that across our organizations. It's organized into kind of where we're at right now is working in 4 different working groups, and that's conservation, innovation to practice adoptions. That's kind of research to practice. Equity in the delivery of technical assistance, that CDFA is leading, which is really making sure we're serving all Californians with these programs. Consistently led local technical consistent. I wrote it down weird. Consistent, locally led technical assistance, and then technical training capacity. So each of the partners is taking the lead on one of these working groups, and we've asked people to kind of serve as an advisor on an advisory level to help us really get this adopted throughout the state. What do you want to add before I talk about strategies to do that?
Yeah, this year we're really getting a big push out there to share C2P2 with all of our partners, not just our MOU signatory partners, but our valued technical partners like at nonprofits, universities, and other organizations that provide support to farmers and ranchers. And really trying to share and bring awareness to this coalition to accelerate conservation agriculture practices.
Yeah. So Sarah's position was created to really, I probably shouldn't be saying this, but this is my interpretation of your position, but to really be kind of shepherding the whole technical assistance provider process with healthy soils, with
SWEEP, those are the main programs that our technical assistance providers help with in this area, also with alternative manure management. Really providing free resources, but being very connected. So I'll just say an example of what we've done locally in Glenn County. Lizette is in my office. Kelly is an incredible partner to us in Glenn County. And since 2020, minus probably a couple COVID years, I can't remember, but we've partnered with local organizations, so similar to this, to put on a program called Programs 101 that is farmer focused, to just share resources. Hey, we have healthy soils, Lizette can help you with that, Kelly can help you with that. The Ag Commissioner's Office comes and talks about the farmer program and the wood stove replacement program, and how to get a pesticide permit. Who else? The NRCS talks about EQIP programs.
FSA.
And FSA comes and talks about all of their programs. So really getting the county-based information to the growers. And it's been really successful. Our average attendance is about 85 folks who attend that. We did last year do a Spanish session the evening before, which was, I think, basically 100% impact of the people who attended ended up applying for one of the grant programs. So while we're a research-based organization, the partnership is very important to us, and I think it's just a great opportunity to really show the community everything that all these organizations have to offer. And we always say that really it comes down to checking your ego at the door and recognizing that you're not the only game in town. Lizette and Kelly do very similar work, and they are a stinking powerhouse, you guys. I cannot tell you that enough. Heather here in Sutter-Yuba counties is doing the work to help these clientele in this area, and having partnerships across organizations is really, really powerful. So for this Programs 101, we kind of do rapid fire presentations, like 7 minutes? They were even a little shorter than this. And then at the end, we kind of did a panel style discussion. So it was like, oh, hey, I have a question for you about XYZ. And could be like, actually, I don't know, but, or this is what I can tell you about that. What does CDFA say, or what does NRCS say? And then really having that conversation was super, super informative to growers. So I really encourage you, I think as part of C2P2, we're really trying to get more programs like that adopted out in the communities. Huge kudos to Heather for doing this. Obviously, you guys are ahead of much of the other parts of the state, but we are, it does seem like from throughout the state, really the Sac Valley is quite a leader in this kind of partnership and collaboration. So keep doing it, and we don't have any magic formula, but if you ask us, we'll tell you we do, and we'll give it to you. I don't know, but any questions?
It's not really a question. I went to the Program 101
Yes.
and it was fabulous. I would like to implement something like that here, just looking for some partners to do that with. And they also, Glenn County has it, they videoed it if you'd like to check it out. It's on their webpage.
Yes.
And I'll give a shout out to the YOLO RCD because they
Yes.
are doing something very similar.
Sac Valley. Sac Valley.
Yeah, Carter, if there's anything you want to say about
Yeah,
that.
we just went to the one in Glenn County, and
Okay.
we're pretty inspired by it, so ours is
Good.
full time.
All right. Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Excellent.
trying to move it along quickly before people start getting out in the field.
Yep. Perfect. I love it. See? Look at us.
Yeah.
We're doing
No.
so good, Sarah.
That's fantastic. It's really what we want to see for
Yeah.
the model of C2P2 regionally, like events like this, Programs 101, and see that grow in other regions across the state. There will be opportunities to engage with the working groups. We're working on sending out a C2P2 interest survey, so I highly recommend as we get that prepared and sent out to everyone to sign up, because there will be engagement sessions and focus groups and things like that to connect with the C2P2 groups. Hear what you you guys all want or need regionally to continue, spreading the spirit of CTP2, engaging with each other. Yeah.
Okay, so, she named the organizations that are in the C2P2, but if there are other folks in the community that wanna help out, that's okay too?
Absolutely. All of the C2P2 working groups have partners that are part of the working group as advisory members, that are not MOU signatory partners. So we see everybody working in this sector as a valuable technical partner, and we're trying to really bring everyone into the fold, to accelerate implementation of conservation agriculture.
And I feel like we're really aware, you know, kind of as we sit at the state level, I guess, even though I have a local position, this is kind of a statewide effort. It's not happening from, like, in our monthly meetings, that's not where the golden goodness is happening, right? It's like this,
Yeah.
is really where it's coming from. So, you know, that's as much as people want to
Yeah,
continue to
absolutely.
do these kind of things.
And
It's
events like this
incredible.
are where you all can network with each other to think about, you know, potential funding sources that might be, you know, received well or better collaboratively as opposed to applying as an individual. We really see this as an opportunity for bringing people together to enhance the resources locally for producers. And then I can just give a little update from our CDFA office. So I kind of mentioned we are changing our name from the Office of Environmental Farming and Innovation to the Office of Agricultural Resiliency and Sustainability, ORS for short. And if you haven't heard this from me already, we are going to be receiving money from Prop 4. So there will be about $60 million for the Healthy Soils Program and $45 million for SWEET. So we're looking at how those programs are going to be administered, and we're waiting to receive more, like further information from the state budget as any requirements that might be around implementation of those programs. But that's money that we know is there and coming along to continue to support conservation and climate smart agriculture. And we've taken a lot of feedback and consideration, not just from our technical assistance partners, but from producers as well, in consideration of geographic distribution of these funds and our requirement by SB 2377 to support smaller underserved farmers and ranchers as well. So more to come on that. That's my little update for you all. Yes.
Question about, Prop 4. Do you know if there was a carve out at all for like the WETA program?
No, there was not. It's specific, for our office, the funding specific to SWEEP and Healthy Soils Program.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now it's time to have a break, use the restroom, mingle, ask your questions, you know, trade secrets, whatever you like. So we'll come back in about 30 minutes.
It's 2:20.
Okay, so at 3:10, we will have our next set of presentations.
Wait, 3:10 or?
We do like 25 minutes, maybe 2:45.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that. Sounds good.